The space station gleamed like a jewel against the darkness. Concordia Prime was the largest structure humans had ever seen. It orbited a dead star, home to 17 different alien species who called themselves the Galactic Council. Ambassador Yuna Kim stood in her quarters, adjusting her formal jacket. She was 42 years old with kind eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from excitement. Today, Earth would join the galaxy's most powerful alliance. Ambassador will be docking in 10 minutes. Captain Taeyang Park's voice came through her communicator. He commanded the escort ship that brought her here. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be, Yuna replied. She thought about her children back on Earth. Her daughter Hyejin was 19, studying medicine. Her son Minjae was 17, always buried in books. She wished they could see this moment. Dr. Jisoo Lee entered the room carrying a data tablet. She was young, only 34, with bright eyes full of hope. The treaty documents just arrived. I'm reviewing them now. Good, Yuna said. We need to understand every detail before I sign anything. The docking process was smooth. As Yuna stepped onto Concordia Prime, she gasped. The main corridor was massive, with ceilings that seemed to touch the sky. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past her. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated in the air. Others crawled on multiple legs. Captain Park stayed close to her side. He was a soldier, always alert, always watching for danger. Stay in the center of the group, he whispered. The council chamber was even more impressive. It was a circular room with seats arranged in tiers. At the center sat the High Arbiter, a reptilian creature named Velthorin. His scales were dark green and his eyes were cold and calculating. Welcome, human, Velthorin said. His voice was smooth, almost friendly. We are pleased to accept your species into our great alliance. Yuna bowed respectfully. The people of Earth are honored. We come in peace, seeking friendship and mutual prosperity. The ceremony began. Other council members spoke, welcoming humanity. A floating jellyfish-like creature named Matriarch Elensera talked about cooperation. A massive insect called War Chief Gromax grunted approval. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. Dr. Jisoo Lee was in another room studying the treaty with translation software. She frowned at her screen. Something was wrong. The document had sections written in languages the software couldn't translate properly. She dug deeper, using advanced algorithms. What she found made her blood run cold. Hidden in the complex alien text were terrible clauses. Earth would have to give up 70% of its military. Humans would be forced to work in alien mines and factories. Worst of all, alien soldiers would be stationed on every human world, with complete authority over local populations. It wasn't a treaty. It was a slavery contract. Jisoo ran to the council chamber, her heart pounding. She burst through the doors, ignoring the guards who tried to stop her. Ambassador Kim, don't sign anything. Yuna turned, surprised. Jisoo, what's wrong? The treaty is a trap, Jisoo shouted. She held up her tablet, displaying the hidden clauses. They're trying to enslave us. The chamber erupted in chaos. Alien delegates shouted at each other. Some looked shocked, others looked guilty. Velthorin stood slowly, his cold eyes fixed on Yuna. You are more clever than we expected, he said. There was no friendliness in his voice now. This complicates things. Yuna stepped forward, her fear replaced by anger. You invited us here to trick us? To put chains on my people? This is how the great Galactic Council operates? Your species is dangerous, Velthorin replied. You advanced too quickly. You asked too many questions. You refused to accept your place. We cannot allow you to grow unchecked. So you lied to us, Yuna said. You brought us here under false pretenses. We brought you here to teach you a lesson, Velthorin said. The lesson is this. Humans are not welcome in this galaxy. Captain Park saw it before anyone else. Velthorin's hand moved to a hidden device on his belt. Ambassador, get down. Park screamed, but it was too late. A beam of bright energy shot across the chamber. It struck Yuna in the chest. She staggered backward, her eyes wide with shock and pain. She fell to her knees. The live feed was still broadcasting to Earth. Billions of humans watched their ambassador die. Yuna's hand reached out, as if trying to touch something far away. Her lips moved, forming her last words. Don't let them— Then she collapsed, Dr. Jisoo Lee screamed. Captain Park drew his weapon, but guards were already surrounding them. The chamber descended into violence. Retreat, Park shouted. He grabbed Jisoo and ran for the docking bay. Behind them, alarms blared. Council ships were powering up their weapons. The escort ship barely escaped. As they fled into deep space, Park looked at the communication screen. Earth was already responding. Every military base was activating. Every ship was launching. War had begun, and humanity would never forget what happened in that chamber. They would never forget Yuna Kim, murdered while seeking peace. They would never forgive the betrayal. The galaxy was about to learn what happens when you kill a human ambassador during peace talks, was about to learn what humanity becomes when you threaten their existence. And that lesson would be written in blood across 1,000 worlds. The video played on every screen across Earth. Yuna Kim standing brave and dignified, Velthoran raising his weapon, the flash of energy, her body falling. Her last words, "Don't let them," humanity watched, and humanity screamed. In Seoul, Yuna's daughter Hyejin collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. In New York, Yuna's son Minjae punched a wall until his knuckles bled. Across every continent and every language, humans roared with rage. President Jaehoon Kang was 60 years old, a former general with iron-gray hair. He sat in the emergency command center, watching the video for the 10th time. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched into fists. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. Admiral Minho Cho stood beside him, studying tactical displays. "Their fleet is 300 ships strong. They'll arrive at Earth in 48 hours. "They think we'll surrender," President Kang said quietly. "They think killing our ambassador will make us afraid." "Will we surrender, sir?" a young aide asked. President Kang turned to face his staff. His eyes burned with cold fury. "No, we will never surrender. Not now, not ever. Call every nation. Call every leader. Tell them we're dissolving all borders. From this moment, there is only one nation, humanity." Within hours, it happened. Old enemies shook hands. Ancient disputes were forgotten. Every flag was lowered, replaced by the blue banner of United Earth. The Terran Defense Coalition was born. Chief Engineer Doyeon Choi worked without sleeping. He was 44, with wild hair and coffee-stained clothes. In his laboratory, he took apart captured alien technology from previous encounters. "Look at this," he told his assistant. "Their weapons use plasma containment, but our kinetic weapons hit harder. What if we combine them?" "That's theoretically impossible," his assistant said. "So was human flight once," Doyeon replied. "Start building prototypes. We have 36 hours. Commander Min Ji-han prepared her squadron on the lunar defense platform. She was 29, small but fierce. Her pilots called her the Tiger. "They outnumber us 20-1, one pilot said nervously. Minji smiled without humor. "Then it's a fair fight. Remember your training. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and never stop moving. Make every shot count. Make every second count. What if we can't win?" another pilot asked. "Then we make them pay for every inch," Minji said. "We buy Earth time. That's all that matters." Hyejin Kim stood in the military recruitment center. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set with determination. "I want to join," she told the recruiter. "Ma'am, you're a medical student. We need doctors." "My mother was a peacemaker," Hyejin said. "They murdered her. I'll save lives later. Right now I need to learn how to fight." The recruiter looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Welcome to the Retribution Corps." The Council fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 300 massive ships bristling with weapons. Their commander sent a message to Earth. "Surrender immediately. Accept Council authority. You have 1 hour." President Kang's reply was simple. "Come and take it." The Battle of Earth began. Commander Min Ji-han led her squadron into the teeth of the enemy fleet. Her fighters were tiny compared to the massive alien ships, but they were fast. They dodged between capital ships, firing plasma kinetic missiles that Doyeon Choi had invented just hours before. The new weapons were devastating. Each missile hit with the heat of plasma and the impact of a speeding train. Alien shields buckled and broke, but the numbers were overwhelming. One by one, human fighters fell. Minji watched her friends die, their ships exploding in silent flowers of flame. "All units fall back to defensive line 2, she ordered. Her voice stayed calm even as her heart broke. "Tiger, we can't retreat," a pilot said. "They'll reach Earth." "We're not retreating," Minji replied. "We're leading them into a trap." The alien fleet followed the surviving human fighters toward Earth. They were confident, victorious. They didn't notice the thousands of small objects floating in space around them. Now, Minji whispered, the mines activated. Doyen Choi had spent weeks building them, using every trick and technology he could find. They were invisible to alien sensors, designed to look like space debris. They were also incredibly deadly. Explosions tore through the Council fleet. Ships collided with each other trying to escape. More mines detonated. Then orbital defense platforms opened fire, their weapons powered by every nuclear reactor on Earth. The battle lasted 72 hours. When it ended, space around Earth was a graveyard. Debris floated everywhere. Bodies drifted in the void. Of the 300 Council ships, only 15 escaped. They fled in terror, broadcasting warnings about human defenses, but Earth had paid a price. Commander Minji Han's squadron was destroyed. Of 40 pilots, only 3 survived. 30,000 human soldiers died defending their homeworld. President Kang stood on the lunar base looking at the wreckage. Admiral Minho Cho stood beside him. We won, Cho said. This was just the first battle, Kang replied. They'll come back with more ships, more weapons. They won't stop until we're extinct. Then what do we do? President Kang turned away from the window. His expression was hard as stone. We don't wait for them to come back. We take the war to them. We hit every council world. We destroy their economy, their military, their will to fight. Sir, that's a war of extinction. They started it, Kang said coldly. They murdered Yuna Kim during peace talks. They tried to enslave us. They attacked our home. Now they'll learn what happens when you threaten humanity's existence. He walked to the command center and activated the galaxy-wide broadcast. People of the Galactic Council, he said. You killed our ambassador. You attacked our world. You wanted to teach us a lesson. Consider it learned. Now we'll teach you one. Humanity doesn't surrender. Humanity doesn't forgive, and humanity never forgets. The war has just begun. Across Earth, ships prepared to launch. Weapons were loaded. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. The age of human vengeance had begun. 6 months after Yuna Kim's death, the human fleet struck. Admiral Sora Yoon stood on the bridge of the massive warship, Yuna's Vengeance. She was 47 years old, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around her, 450 human ships prepared for battle. All ships report ready, her tactical officer said. Then let's begin Operation Hellstorm, Sora replied calmly. Show the Council what happens when they murder our diplomats. Dr. Jaewon Nam had made it all possible. He was 39, eccentric, and brilliant. His invention, the Ghost Drive, allowed human ships to jump in and out of faster-than-light travel with perfect accuracy. Council ships took hours to calculate safe jumps. Human ships could jump in seconds, coordinates locked. The navigation officer reported. Target Verdun 3 Scarix mining colony. Jump, Sora ordered. Space twisted. Reality bent. The fleet vanished. They appeared directly above Verdun 3. The alien defenders had no warning. One moment their orbital space was empty. The next moment human warships filled the sky. All weapons fire, Sora commanded. The battle was over in minutes. Human ships used the new plasma kinetic weapons that hit like hammers. The mining facility exploded. Supply ships burned. The garrison surrendered within the hour. On the ground, Corporal Sunho Bayek led his marine unit through the colony. He was 25 years old, tough as steel. His squad of 12 faced a garrison of 200 Scarix warriors. The Scarix were reptilian, strong, and vicious. They fought with claws and energy weapons, but they had never fought humans before. Grenades, Sunho shouted. His marines threw improvised explosives into enemy positions. The Scarix charged, roaring their battle cries. They expected the humans to run. Instead, the humans charged back. Close combat was brutal. Sunho's knife found alien throats. His soldiers used their smaller size to move faster, strike harder, and never give up. When one marine fell, another took their place. For 8 hours, 12 humans held a strategic position against 200 aliens. They used every trick, every weapon, every ounce of determination they possessed. When reinforcements finally arrived, only 6 Marines still lived. Sunho was covered in blood, both his and alien. But they had held the line. A reporter found him afterward. How did you do it? How did 12 humans defeat 200 aliens? Sunho looked at the camera with exhausted eyes. You want to know what humans are? We're the ones who fight hardest when we're losing. We're the ones who never quit. Remember that. The video spread across the galaxy within hours. Intelligence Officer Narration worked in the shadows. She was 33, invisible and deadly. While fleets battled, she infiltrated the Lumini communication network. The Lumini were crystalline beings of pure energy. They thought their digital systems were impenetrable. They were wrong. Nari stole everything. War plans, council communications, records of atrocities. She found evidence of genocide, forced labor, and systematic exploitation of weaker species. She leaked it all to neutral species. Suddenly, the galaxy saw the truth. The council wasn't a benevolent alliance. It was a tyranny that ruled through fear and violence. Public opinion shifted. Neutral species began to question the council. Some even secretly helped humanity, but the council's response was catastrophic. High Arbiter Velthorin called an emergency session. Humans are animals, he declared. They refuse to submit. They refuse to die. We must show them the price of resistance. He authorized the use of antimatter weapons. The target was New Sol, a terraformed moon in the Alpha Centauri system. 2 million humans lived there, families, children, farmers, and teachers and artists. The antimatter bombs hit without warning. The entire moon's surface turned to fire. Cities vanished in nuclear hellfire. 2 million people died in seconds. When news reached Earth, silence fell across the planet. Not screams this time, just cold, terrible silence. President Kang addressed the nation. His face was carved from stone. They have shown us who they really are. They murder diplomats. They attack civilians. They use weapons designed to exterminate entire populations. Very well. We will respond in kind. The restraints came off. Admiral Sora Yoon received new orders. She read them twice, unable to believe what she was seeing. Then she nodded slowly. Deploy the biological weapons, she ordered. Target their agricultural worlds. Scientists had created viruses that attacked alien biology. Each one was designed for specific species. Scarix Chitauri and others. The viruses didn't kill immediately. They destroyed crops, contaminated water, caused slow starvation. Other fleets launched asteroids at council worlds. Massive rocks accelerated to incredible speeds. When they hit, they caused extinction-level events. AI-controlled hunter drones pursued fleeing council ships across the galaxy. Once a ship was marked, the drones followed forever. They couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be bribed, couldn't be stopped. Corporal Sunho Bayek, now promoted to sergeant, led an assault on a council supply hub. His orders were simple: destroy everything. His men planted nuclear charges throughout the station. As they evacuated, Sunho looked back at the thousands of alien workers still inside. Sir, there are civilians in there, a young soldier said. I know, Sunho replied. His voice was empty. They didn't care about our civilians at New Sol. The charges detonated. The station exploded. Everyone inside died. That night Sunho couldn't sleep. He kept seeing the faces of those workers, but he told himself it was necessary. They started this. They murdered Yuna Kim. They bombed New Sol. War philosopher Seojin Oh documented everything. He was 58 with kind eyes that had seen too much. He wrote about human victories and human atrocities. We fight monsters, he wrote, but are we becoming monsters ourselves? Where is the line between justice and vengeance? When does necessary force become unnecessary cruelty? His writings were controversial. Many humans called him a traitor. Others called him the only honest voice left. Intelligence Officer Nari Shin intercepted a council transmission. The Chitauri swarm was planning a massive assault on human colonies. She passed the information to Admiral Sora Yoon. Trap them, Nari suggested. The Helios Nebula has unique properties. If you can lure them there, the plan worked perfectly. Commander Minji Han, now recovered from her injuries, led the Chitauri fleet into the nebula. Then human ships detonated hydrogen bombs throughout the cloud. The chain reaction was catastrophic. 800 Chitauri ships exploded in an apocalyptic firestorm. The entire swarm fleet was destroyed. War Chief Gromax survived. He was captured and brought to Earth. President Kang ordered a public execution. They put Gromax in an airlock and opened it to space. Billions watched as the alien warrior suffocated in the void, his body freezing. It was broadcast across the galaxy as a warning. High Arbiter Velthorin grew desperate. He authorized forbidden weapons. Reality warpers that drove enemies insane. Mind control viruses, temporal disruptors that erased targets from time itself. Every weapon failed. Human scientists found countermeasures with frightening speed. For every council weapon, humanity developed 3 counters. The galaxy was burning. Whole worlds lay in ruins. Species that had existed for millions of years faced extinction. The war consumed everything, and humanity kept advancing, kept adapting, kept winning. The council realized too late what they had awakened. "We can't stop them," Matriarch Ellen Sarah whispered in a secret session. "They're relentless." "Then we must use everything," Velthorin insisted. "Every weapon, every resource. We must exterminate them before they exterminate us." But it was already too late. The human war machine was unstoppable now. 2 years into the war, the Galactic Council was breaking apart. Ambassador Soyeon Park sat across from a delegation of Luminae representatives. She was 51 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. Every negotiation reminded her of Yuna Kim's death. Every handshake made her wonder if she would be murdered too. "We want peace," Matriarch Ellen Sarah said. Her crystalline body pulsed with nervous light. "We never wanted this war." "You watched them kill our ambassador," Soyeon replied coldly. "You did nothing." "We were afraid," Ellen Sarah admitted. "We were cowards. But now we see that cowardice has a price. The Council is destroying the galaxy. We want no part of it." Soyeon pulled up a video file. It showed Yuna Kim's assassination. She made Ellen Sarah watch it again. "This is what your council does," Soyeon said. "This is why we fight. Can you promise this will never happen again?" "We can offer intelligence," Ellen Sarah said quietly. "Council fleet positions, hidden bases, weapon research, everything we know." Soyeon studied the alien carefully. Was this a trick? Or genuine remorse? "If you betray us, your entire species will pay," Soyeon warned. "We understand," Ellen Sarah replied. "We have already betrayed the Council by coming here. There is no going back." 5 alien species left the Council over the next months, some because they opposed the war, others because they feared human vengeance more than Council punishment. The alliance was fracturing. General Kyungmin Lee stood in the war room, studying holographic displays. He was 49 years old, patient and methodical. While others planned quick strikes, he planned something bigger. "Concordia Prime," he said, pointing at the massive space station. "The heart of the Council. If we take it, we end their ability to coordinate. It's the most defended position in the galaxy," an aide protested. "Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, the best weapons they have." "Which is why they won't expect us to attack it," Kyungmin replied. He smiled slightly. "We have 8 months to prepare. Let's use them well." Tech specialist Eunji Kwan was 26 years old, a genius with computers. She could hack systems that supposedly couldn't be hacked. The Council's quantum networks were her latest challenge. "It's impossible," her supervisor said. "Their encryption changes every microsecond." "Everything is possible if you're willing to work hard enough," Eunji replied. She hadn't slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red, but her mind was sharp. She found a weakness. The Council's AI systems had to communicate with each other. Those communications could be intercepted, analyzed, and eventually cracked. It took her 6 months. But she did it. "I'm inside," she told General Kyungmin Lee. "I can access their defense network. When you're ready to attack, I can disable their shields." "How long can you keep them down?" 90 seconds, Eunji said. "Maybe less. The system will detect the intrusion and compensate." 90 seconds is enough, Kyungmin replied. "Good work." Commander Minjihan trained new pilots. After the Battle of Earth, she had become a hero. Young soldiers wanted to be like her. She taught them everything she knew. "Speed is your weapon," she told a class of recruits. "Never stay still. Never be predictable. Make them chase you, tire them out, then strike when they're exhausted." "What if we're outnumbered?" a young pilot asked. Minji smiled grimly. "We're always outnumbered. Get used to it." She pushed them hard. Some complained. But those who survived her training became the best pilots in the fleet. The Chitauri swarm, angry at the Council's leadership, launched their own attack on human colonies. War Chief Gromax was dead, but his successor was even more aggressive. They hit the colony on Titan with overwhelming force. 10,000 Chitauri warriors against 500 human defenders. The battle was vicious. But humans had learned from 2 years of war. They used the terrain, set traps, and fought with desperate cunning. Commander Minjihan arrived with reinforcements. She led the Chitauri fleet into the Helios Nebula, the same trap that worked before. This time she used enhanced hydrogen bombs. The explosion was visible from light years away. 800 more Chitauri ships burned. The new Chitauri war chief was captured alive. President Kang made another controversial decision. Execute him publicly, Kang ordered. Show the galaxy what happens to those who attack us. They put the war chief in a transparent chamber and opened it to space. Billions watched across the galaxy as he died slowly, his body freezing and suffocating. Some humans protested. This is barbaric, they said. We're becoming monsters, but most supported it. They started this, they argued. They showed no mercy at New Seoul. War philosopher Seo Jin-oh wrote about the execution. We have become what we fought against, he wrote. We justify cruelty with past wrongs. When does justice end and sadism begin? His writings caused fierce debate. Many called him a traitor. Others secretly agreed but were afraid to say so. High Arbiter Velthorin grew desperate. The Council was losing species, losing battles, losing hope. He authorized the use of forbidden technologies. Reality warpers that could bend space and time, mind control viruses that turned victims into slaves, temporal disruptors that erased targets from existence. Each weapon was used. Each weapon failed. Human scientists were too clever, too adaptable. For every Council weapon, they developed 3 counters. Dr. Jisoo Lee, who survived Yoona Kim's assassination, led the counter-weapon research. She had changed in 2 years. Her hope was gone, replaced by cold determination. They want to use reality warpers, she said. Fine, we'll develop reality anchors that make their weapons useless. They want mind control? We'll create neural shields. They want temporal weapons? We'll build temporal detectors that warn us before they fire. Nothing the Council tried worked. Humanity was too fast, too smart, too determined. In a secret Council session, species representatives argued. We must negotiate peace, some said. We've gone too far, others replied. If we stop now, humans will hunt us forever. High Arbiter Velthorin stood and silenced them all. There's only one path forward. Total human extinction. We use every weapon, every resource, every soldier. We don't stop until every human is dead. Matriarch Ellen Sarah, listening from her private chambers, made a decision. She contacted Ambassador Soyeon Park. Velthorin plans a final assault on Earth, she warned. Everything the Council has left. Thousands of ships, antimatter weapons, everything. When? Soyeon asked. 6 months. He's gathering forces now. Soyeon passed the information to General Kyung-min Lee. He studied the intelligence and nodded. Perfect, he said. While they gather their forces for Earth, their defenses elsewhere will be weak. Including Concordia Prime. You want to attack their capital while they attack ours? An aide asked, shocked. Earth can defend itself, Kyung-min replied. We proved that already. But if we take Concordia Prime while their fleet is gone, we cut off their head. The war ends. Admiral Sora Yoon approved the plan. Operation Endgame begins in 3 months. Start moving forces into position. Quietly. If the Council suspects, they'll change their plans. Across human space, ships began moving. Soldiers prepared. Engineers built new weapons. Everyone knew this would be the final battle. Either humanity would win completely or die trying. There was no middle ground anymore. The age of mercy was over. The day of Operation Endgame arrived. General Kyung-min Lee stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching holographic displays. Hundreds of human vessels waited in the darkness, hidden from Council sensors. They had traveled for weeks to reach this position. All units report ready, his tactical officer said. Kyung-min nodded. Begin Phase 1. Across the Concordia system, human ships appeared simultaneously. The ghost drive technology let them jump into multiple positions at once. The Council fleet found itself surrounded, confused, unable to coordinate. Engage targets at will, Kyung-min ordered calmly. Captain Ji-won Choi led the Vanguard protocol. She was 31 years old, flying a small ship packed with explosives. 49 other volunteers flew beside her. They all knew they wouldn't survive. For Yoona Kim, Ji-won said over the comm. For New Seoul. For humanity. Her squadron dove toward Concordia Prime's defensive platforms. Council weapons fired, destroying ship after ship. But the human pilots didn't try to dodge. They aimed straight for their targets and accelerated. Ji-won's ship hit a defensive platform at full speed. The explosion was massive. Around her, other volunteers struck their targets. 49 ships, 49 explosions, 49 gaps in the station's defenses. All 50 pilots died. But they bought their fleet an opening. Tech specialist Yoonji Kwan sat in a stealth ship far from the battle. Her fingers flew across holographic keyboards. She was inside Concordia Prime systems fighting the station's AI for control. "Come on," she whispered. "Just 90 seconds. That's all I need." The Council AI detected her intrusion and fought back. It was like wrestling with a giant. Yoonji's code was elegant and clever. The AI's code was brutal and overwhelming. But Yoonji had spent 6 months studying this system. She knew its weaknesses. "Got you," she said. She activated the virus she had planted. Concordia Prime's shields flickered and died. 90 seconds. She broadcast to the fleet. "Go now." Admiral Hyunwoo Kang, the president's son, commanded the assault fleet. He was 28 years old, trying to prove himself. Some said he only got his rank because of his father. Today he would prove them wrong. "All ships full speed ahead," he ordered. "Hit them while the shields are down." Human warships poured through the gaps in the defenses. Plasma kinetic weapons tore into the station's hull. Boarding pods launched, carrying Marines to the interior. The 90 seconds ended. Concordia Prime's shields came back online, but it was too late. Hundreds of human ships were already inside the defensive perimeter. Medic Bora Kim landed with the first wave of Marines. She was 24 years old, Yoona Kim's niece. She carried medical supplies instead of weapons. The fighting inside Concordia Prime was brutal. Corridors filled with smoke and blood. Humans and aliens killed each other in close combat. The screams were terrible. Bora set up a field hospital in a captured section. Wounded soldiers poured in, both human and alien. She worked without stopping, saving everyone she could. "Why are you helping them?" a Marine asked, pointing at wounded aliens. "Because I'm a doctor," Bora replied. "I save lives. That's what my aunt would have wanted." Some soldiers agreed with her. Others thought she was betraying humanity. But Bora didn't care. She kept working. The AI called Prometheus coordinated the entire assault. It was humanity's first military AI, created by desperate scientists who ignored every safety regulation. President Kang had authorized it despite protests. Prometheus analyzed the battle in real time. It predicted enemy movements, optimized human tactics, and directed reinforcements to critical points. It fought like a machine, calculated and perfect. Some called it humanity's greatest weapon. Others feared what would happen when the war ended. But everyone admitted it was effective. Sergeant Sunho Bayek led his unit into the Central Command section. The Scarix Elite Guard defended it with savage determination. The fighting was vicious and personal. Beck's unit lost half its soldiers in the first 10 minutes. But they kept advancing, using grenades, rifles, and pure aggression to push forward. Finally, they reached the High Council chamber. High Arbiter Velthorin stood at the center, surrounded by his personal guard. He held a plasma weapon, his reptilian face twisted with rage. "You're animals," he screamed. "Barely civilized primates who got lucky. We're the ones who don't surrender," Bake replied. He raised his rifle. "You murdered our ambassador during peace talks. You tried to enslave us. You bombed our civilians. Now you face the consequences," Velthorin charged, roaring. His guards followed. The battle was fierce. Beck's soldiers fell one by one, but they held their ground, fighting with desperate courage. Finally, Beck shot Velthorin in the leg. The High Arbiter collapsed, hissing in pain. "You've lost," Beck said. "Surrender." "Never," Velthorin spat. "The Council will rise again. Your victory is temporary." "Then we'll beat you again," Beck replied. "And again. And again. Until you learn the lesson. Humanity doesn't give up." The remaining Council members surrendered. 11 High Council leaders were captured alive, along with thousands of soldiers and officials. The Battle of Concordia Prime lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the station was a wreck. Fires burned in dozens of sections. Bodies floated in corridors. The air smelled of blood and smoke. Human casualties, 23,000 dead, 51,000 wounded. Council casualties, over 400,000 dead. Complete military collapse. General Kyungmin Lee walked through the captured Council chamber. He looked at the seats where 17 species once ruled the galaxy. Now they were empty, scorched by fire. "It's over," his aide said. "No," Kyungmin replied. "This is just the beginning. We've shattered their military, but the galaxy is full of Council supporters. This war will continue for years." He was right. Across the galaxy, Council remnants fled into deep space. Some species swore eternal vengeance. Others begged for mercy. Admiral Sora Yoon broadcast a message to the galaxy. The Galactic Council has fallen. But we're not done. Every species that participated in Yuna Kim's assassination will be held accountable. Every species that attacked humanity will face justice. This is not a war of conquest. This is a war of accountability. But many humans were no longer sure what the war was about. Was it justice? Or revenge? Or something darker? Medic Bora Kim sat in her field hospital, surrounded by wounded soldiers. She had saved 300 lives today, human and alien. But she had also seen terrible things. Executions of prisoners, torture of suspects, cruelty without purpose. What are we becoming? She whispered to herself. No one answered. The war for Concordia Prime was won. But the war for humanity's soul was just beginning, and that was a war much harder to win. 3 years after the siege, the war should have ended. The Galactic Council was destroyed. Most alien species had surrendered. But humanity didn't stop. Chancellor Young-Soo Park stood at the podium addressing the Terran Assembly. He was 53 years old with hard eyes and a harder heart. President Kang had retired, wanting peace. The people elected Park instead, wanting security. We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past, Park declared. We showed mercy once, sending Ambassador Yuna Kim to negotiate. They murdered her. If we show mercy now, our children will face another war. Every species that participated in council crimes must be held accountable. Every weapon that could threaten us must be destroyed. We will create a galaxy where no one dares attack humanity again. The crowd cheered. Some protested, but they were few and quiet. The peace looked like occupation. Human soldiers patrolled alien cities. Human administrators governed alien worlds. War crime tribunals executed thousands of alien leaders, many after questionable trials. Fleet Admiral Jin Young-song commanded the Retribution Fleet. She was 45 years old, relentless and ruthless. Her mission was to hunt down every council remnant that fled into deep space. Sir, we've located a refugee fleet, her tactical officer reported. 200 ships, mostly civilians. Any military vessels? Song asked. 3 escort ships. The rest are transports. They could be hiding soldiers among the civilians, Song said. Destroy them all. Sir, our sensors show children on those ships. I gave an order. Song interrupted coldly. Execute it, the weapons fired. 200 ships exploded. Everyone aboard died. Thousands of aliens, including families and children, killed without mercy. When news reached Earth, protests erupted. Peace activist Aryam Min led demonstrations in major cities. She was 29 years old, passionate and brave. She held up images of the destroyed refugee ships. Yuna Kim died for peace, she shouted to crowds. We've turned her death into an excuse for endless killing. When does it end? When we've murdered every alien who looked at us wrong. The government arrested her for sedition. Her trial was broadcast across human space. She stood defiant in the courtroom. I'm not the traitor, she said. You are. You betrayed everything Yuna Kim believed in. She wanted peace, understanding, cooperation. What are we doing? We're becoming the monsters we fought. The judge sentenced her to 10 years in prison. But her words spread anyway, shared secretly across networks. Many humans were starting to ask the same questions. Xenohistorian Dongyun Ryu published a controversial book called The Price of Vengeance. He was 62 years old, a scholar who had studied human history for decades. We've become conquerors, he wrote. We justified it at first. We said it was justice for Yuna Kim, justice for New Soul. But justice has turned into oppression. We execute prisoners without fair trials. We bomb civilians for security reasons. We torture suspects for information. These are not the actions of heroes. These are the actions of tyrants. The government banned the book, but copies spread underground. People read it secretly, afraid to be caught. Captain Hyejin Song commanded the warship Yuna's Vengeance, the same ship her mother's memory honored. She was 39 years old now, hardened by war. The grief-stricken teenager was gone, replaced by a cold professional. She oversaw the occupation of the former Scarix homeworld. The reptilian species had been defeated, their military destroyed. But resistance movements kept fighting. Another bombing, her security officer reported. 50 human soldiers dead. Round up suspects in the area, Hyejin ordered. Anyone who might have helped the terrorists. They arrested 300 aliens. Most were innocent. But Hyejin authorized harsh interrogations, collective punishment and public executions designed to terrify the population. At night, alone in her quarters, she looked at a picture of her mother. Yuna Kim smiled in the photo, kind and hopeful. "I'm doing this for you," Hyejin whispered. "They killed you. They deserve everything we're doing." But she wasn't sure she believed it anymore. Medic Bora Kim worked in occupied territories, treating both humans and aliens. She saw terrible things: executions without trial, torture of prisoners, collective punishment of innocent civilians. She began secretly documenting everything: videos of abuse, testimonies from victims, evidence of war crimes committed by human forces. She sent them to underground news networks. The evidence was explosive. It showed human soldiers killing unarmed aliens, officers torturing prisoners, commanders ordering the execution of children. When the evidence leaked, the government called it enemy propaganda. But many humans knew it was real. They had seen it themselves or heard stories from soldiers. Admiral Minho Cho, now 80 years old and dying, gave a final interview. He had commanded Earth's defense during the first battles. Now he spoke truth. "We won the war," he said weakly. "But we lost ourselves. I fought to protect humanity, to keep us free. But what have we become? Occupiers, oppressors, killers of civilians. I see young soldiers executing prisoners and calling it justice. I see commanders bombing refugee ships and sleeping soundly." Yuna Kim would weep if she saw what her death justified. He died 2 days later. His funeral was massive, but his words haunted everyone who heard them. The war officially ended in year 5. Treaties were signed. Territories were divided. Human forces formally occupied 43 alien worlds, but resistance continued. Bombings, assassinations, sabotage. Every week brought new attacks. Every attack brought harsh reprisals. Chancellor Park declared victory and eternal vigilance. "The war is over," he announced. "But we must remain strong. The galaxy is full of those who would destroy us. We will never be weak again. We will never be vulnerable again." But many humans wondered, what was the difference between strength and tyranny? Between security and oppression? Between justice and revenge? Sergeant Sunho Bayek, the war hero, now worked at a veterans center. He was 45 years old, suffering from nightmares and guilt. He helped other soldiers cope with what they had done. "I killed so many," one young soldier confessed. "Some were warriors, but some were just civilians in the wrong place." "I know," Beck said quietly. "I did the same. We told ourselves it was necessary, that they deserved it because of what their leaders did. But were we right? Or did we just become what we fought against?" He had no answers. None of them did. The galaxy was peaceful through terror. Former council species lived in fear. Trade happened because human warships enforced it. Resistance movements fought because they had no choice. Humanity had achieved absolute security through absolute dominance. They controlled the galaxy. No one could threaten them, but the cost was their humanity itself. Young historian Hanol Lee, 25 years old, researched everything. She interviewed veterans, studied classified documents, talked to alien survivors. Two sides committed atrocities, she concluded. The council murdered Yuna Kim and bombed New Seoul. Humanity responded by occupying worlds and executing civilians. Both sides believed they were right. Both sides were wrong. Her conclusions were controversial. Hawks called her a traitor. Doves called her brave. But everyone agreed on one thing. The war had changed humanity forever, and not for the better. 20 years after Yuna Kim's death, her son became president. Min Jae Kim was 40 years old, with his mother's kind eyes and his father's determination. He had watched the war consume everything. Now he proposed something impossible: peace. "We've spent 20 years fighting," he said in his campaign speeches. 20 years occupying alien worlds. 20 years living in fear and anger. My mother died trying to build bridges. We spent 2 decades burning them. It's time to honor her real legacy. Not through revenge, but through reconciliation. Half the population supported him. Half opposed him violently. The election was close, bitter, and angry. He won by 3%. Admiral Hee-jin Song, his sister, commanded Earth's largest fleet. She was 39 years old, scarred inside and out by decades of war. She had done terrible things in humanity's name. When her brother announced the new Galactic Assembly, giving aliens equal representation, she didn't know how to feel. You're giving them power, she said during a private meeting. The same species that killed our mother. Not the same individuals, Minje replied. Most of the council leaders are dead. These are new generations, born during the war. Children who grew up under our occupation. Don't they deserve a chance? They'll betray us, just like before. Maybe, Minje admitted. Or maybe we can build something better. Isn't it worth trying? Hyejin had no answer. She had spent her entire adult life fighting. She didn't know how to do anything else. Ambassador Sora Kwan accepted the position as humanity's representative to the new assembly. She was 35 years old, an idealist like Yuna Kim had been. Everyone said it was a suicide mission. She studied everything about Yuna Kim, watched her speeches, read her writings, tried to understand what kind of person would seek peace with those who might kill her. Her first speech to the assembly was broadcast across the galaxy. She stood alone on a stage, surrounded by alien delegates who feared and hated humanity. I know what you think of us, she began. You think we're monsters, conquerors, oppressors, and you're not entirely wrong. We've done terrible things. We've killed civilians. We've occupied your worlds. We've ruled through fear. But we did these things because we were afraid too. Afraid of being enslaved. Afraid of extinction. Afraid of trusting anyone after what happened to Yuna Kim. She paused, looking at each delegate. But fear can't rule forever. Hate can't sustain a civilization. My predecessor came here seeking peace. She was murdered for it. I come here knowing the same might happen to me. But I come anyway. Because someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to be brave enough to try. The chamber was silent. Some aliens looked skeptical. Others looked thoughtful. I don't ask for forgiveness, Sora continued. What we've done can't be forgiven easily. But I ask for a chance. A chance to build something better than endless war. A chance to prove that Yuna Kim didn't die for nothing. Veteran Sunho Bayek watched the speech from his small apartment. He was 45 years old, the legendary soldier who had captured High Arbiter Velthorin. Now he ran support groups for traumatized veterans. Do you believe her? A young veteran asked. Can there really be peace? Beck thought for a long time. I don't know. I've seen too much death, done too much killing. But maybe that's why we need people like her, people who still have hope. That night, Beck visited the memorial to Yuna Kim. Thousands of veterans had left their medals there over the years. It was a silent protest, a statement. We fought, we won, but this isn't the victory she died for. Beck took off his own medals, earned through years of brutal combat. He placed them at the memorial's base and walked away. Young historian Hanil Lee published her final research. She had spent years interviewing everyone, human veterans, alien survivors, politicians, civilians. The truth is complex, she wrote. The council murdered Yuna Kim. That was wrong. Humanity's rage was justified. But justified rage doesn't stay justified when it becomes infinite. At some point we crossed a line. We became oppressors ourselves. Both sides committed atrocities. Both sides have blood on their hands. The only way forward is to acknowledge this truth. Her book caused massive controversy. Hawks called her a traitor who dishonored Yuna Kim's memory. Doves called her the voice of truth. President Min-jae Kim read it and invited Hanul to his office. You're brave, he said. Telling uncomfortable truths takes courage. Someone has to, Hanul replied. If we can't face what we've done, we can't move forward. Then disaster struck. A terrorist group calling themselves the Free Resistance attacked New Seoul's memorial site. The same memorial built after the Council's antimatter bombing 20 years ago. 3,000 humans died in the explosion. The galaxy held its breath. Would humanity retaliate? Would the cycle of violence continue? Chancellor Young-Soo Park, now leading the opposition, demanded total war. Exterminate every species that supports these terrorists, he shouted. No mercy. No negotiation. Admiral Hyejin's Song received orders to prepare a massive retaliation strike. Her fleet could destroy a dozen worlds in hours. But President Min-jae Kim made a different choice. He personally traveled to the alien homeworld where the terrorists came from. His security team protested. It could be a trap. He could be assassinated just like his mother. I know, Minji said calmly, but someone has to be brave enough to try. He walked into a room full of alien leaders. The whole galaxy watched via broadcast. Some expected him to be killed. Others expected him to declare war. Instead, he sat down. You killed 3,000 of my people, he said quietly. I will bring the terrorists to justice. But I will also ask, why did this happen? What drove them to this? How can we end this cycle of violence? It was the same question his mother would have asked. Admiral Heejin Song watched the broadcast from her flagship. Her finger hovered over the weapons authorization button. One word from her, and entire worlds would burn. Instead, she addressed her fleet. I've spent 20 years fighting, she said. I've killed thousands, I've followed every order. I've done terrible things in humanity's name, and I'm tired. We're all tired. My mother died trying to make peace. Maybe it's time we actually tried to finish what she started. She ordered the fleet to stand down. Across human space, millions made the same choice. They were tired of war, tired of fear, tired of hate. Ambassador Sora Kwan facilitated negotiations between human and alien leaders. It wasn't peace. There was too much blood for that. Too much pain. Too many dead. But it was a beginning. A framework where grievances could be addressed without genocide. Where security didn't require eternal oppression. Where different species could coexist without constant war. The final scene took place at Yuna Kim's memorial on Earth. The inscription read, "She came in peace. We answered with war. May we someday prove worthy of her sacrifice." Thousands of veterans stood there in silence. Each had left their medals behind. Each carried guilt for what they had done. Sergeant Sunho Bayek stood among them. He looked at the statue of Yuna Kim, her hand reaching out as if offering friendship. "We didn't honor you," he whispered. "We used your death to justify terrible things. But maybe your children can do better. Maybe the next generation can build what you dreamed of." He turned and walked away. Behind him, the sun set over the memorial, casting long shadows. The war was over. Not with total victory or total defeat, but with exhaustion, grief, and a desperate hope for something better. Ambassador Sora Kwan sat at a negotiating table surrounded by aliens who still feared and hated humanity. She began simply, "I'm here to listen." It wasn't victory. It wasn't even peace. But it was a start. And after 20 years of endless war, a start was everything. Maybe Yuna Kim's dream wasn't dead after all. Maybe it was just delayed by 20 years of blood and tears. Maybe humanity could finally become what she believed they could be. Not conquerors, but partners. Not oppressors, but friends. Maybe. It was a small word, but it carried hope. And hope was something humanity desperately needed.